What if the same melody you wrote 11 years ago suddenly walked back into your life wearing new clothes, humming in a stranger's voice, yet somehow still unmistakably yours? That question kept me awake more nights than I care to admit. Not because I feared change, but because the change felt inevitable, like something had always been waiting for the right moment to return. This is the story of how Nietzsche's idea of eternal recurrence stepped out of philosophy books and into a Spotify playlist. It's also the story of my own track, Sometimes, born in a small studio in 2015 and its surprising rebirth in 2026 as a folk pop gem. If you've ever wondered whether songs can outlive their creators or whether old feelings ever truly die, stay with me. The loop is about to close. Nietzsche's Eternal Recurrence, not a theory, a dare. Friedrich Nietzsche didn't invent the idea of time looping back on itself. He simply dared us to live as if it did. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he asks the hardest question any artist or human can face. If every moment of your life returned exactly as it was, would you still say yes? Most of us treat that as an intellectual exercise. I started treating it as a creative one the day I realized my 2015 song refused to stay in the past. The chords, the lyric about hesitation and half-spoken truths, the quiet ache in the bridge, they kept resurfacing. Not as nostalgia, as demand. The melody wanted another chance. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished tasks linger in the mind. Nietzsche would have laughed and called it something far grander. The eternal return, testing whether your art was strong enough to bear its own repetition. I didn't know it then, but the song was already testing me. 2015, when Sometimes first spoke. 11 years ago, I sat in a dimly lit room with an old acoustic guitar and a notebook full of crossed-out lines. The song arrived almost fully formed, the way some truths do when you're not trying too hard. Sometimes wasn't about grand heartbreak or epic love. It was smaller, quieter, the kind of doubt that slips between the cracks of everyday life. I recorded it for the album Goodbye Till We Meet Again. The arrangement was sparse, finger-picked guitar, a touch of reverb, my voice trying not to crack on the high notes. Listeners told me it felt honest. I told myself it felt finished. Yet something, a hesitation in the final chorus, a silence where another instrument might have answered, stayed unsettled. I couldn't name it at the time. I simply closed the session, uploaded the track, and moved on. Or so I thought. Have you ever finished a piece of art only to feel it watching you from the corner of the room? That was Sometimes. It waited. Melodies that refused to fade, echoes in literature and life. Music has always been the art form most comfortable with ghosts. Think of how Schubert's Erlkönig still sends shivers down spines 2 centuries later, or how a simple folk tune can carry entire generations of unspoken grief. The past doesn't vanish. It waits for the right voice to call it forward again. In literature, the same pattern appears. Thomas Mann understood this better than most. His novels don't just reference music. They let it haunt the page. If you're fascinated by how composers and writers wrestle with the same philosophical demons, you might enjoy my earlier deep dive into one of his masterpieces. Thomas Mann's Dr. Faustus, reimagining the Faust legend in music, madness, and moral reckoning. Mann showed that true creation often involves bargaining with what came before. The old melody doesn't die. It signs a new contract. That contract is what I unknowingly signed in 2015. The song had more verses to sing. I just didn't know the language yet. 2026, the folk pop reimagining no one saw coming. Fast forward to a cold January morning this year. Lorelei, my creative muse in the Dave and Lorelei project, sent me 3 chords and a hummed melody over voice note. "This feels like your old song," she wrote, "but lighter, like it finally learned how to breathe." She was right. The skeleton was identical, yet everything had shifted. We stripped away the intimate bedroom production and let the song wander into open fields. Layered harmonies brought in the communal spirit of the Lumineers' ho-hey era and of Monsters and Men's anthemic folk swells. The tempo lifted just enough to turn hesitation into gentle defiance. The new version doesn't hide the doubt. It simply refuses to let doubt have the last word. We called it Sometimes Dave and Lorelei version. The parentheses matter. They mark the return, the same soul wearing new skin. What does Nietzsche's Eternal Recurrence mean for modern songwriters who suddenly hear their own past calling in a different accent? It means the test isn't whether you can repeat the moment. The test is whether you can affirm it when it returns changed. The human and unexpected touch behind the return. People ask if the reimagining involved AI tools. The honest answer is yes and no. I used ethical brainstorming software, the kind I wrote about in AI Brainstorming for Songwriting in 2026. Unlock endless ideas and themes with ethical AI tools for beginners, but only as a spark. The real work happened in late-night conversations, shared laughter, and the kind of small adjustments that no algorithm can feel. I recorded once again my part and introduced the AI part of Lorelei. That's the beautiful contradiction. Eternal return doesn't erase time, it deepens it. The 2015 pop-rock version carried the weight of a man alone with his guitar. The 2026 version carries the weight of two people choosing to say yes to the same question a second time. Psychology backs this up. Memory researchers talk about reconsolidation, the moment a recalled memory becomes malleable again. We don't just remember, we rewrite. Songs work the same way. Every new listener, every new arrangement reconsolidates the original emotion into something richer. The quiet doubt I mentioned earlier, the one I felt in that 2015 studio, it finally spoke its name when the new harmonies hit the final chorus. It had never been doubt at all. It had been anticipation. Closing the loop without ending the song. Nietzsche didn't promise comfort, he promised intensity. To live as if every moment returns is to live fiercely awake. To create as if every melody might return is to create without fear of being misunderstood the first time around. My 2015 song didn't need fixing. Actually, there are a lot of people who prefer the original pop-rock version. It needed witnessing again, this time by a wider circle, in a different key, with hands that had aged 11 years and learned a few new chords along the way. The eternal return isn't about sameness. It's about saying yes to the transformation. And if you're still here, still wondering whether an old feeling can ever truly come back different yet familiar, then the loop has already started working on you too. Don't forget to listen to the reimagined Sometimes Dave and Lorelei version on Spotify. Search Dave and Lorelei, or take a look in the description of this video. Until next time.